can eat rice. Yes, it is a acid grain, but you need a little acid. So it's not that they're totally out, but this 20 to 30% ideally should come from this little section here. And we should be having approximately 70 to 80% alkaline forming foods. What that will do is that will maintain the cellular pH conducive to recovering from arthritis. See, the blood pH never changes. Your lungs and your kidneys are constantly working to keep the blood pH in the area that it should be, but the cellular pH can change, and your cellular pH is influenced by the breaking of these laws. It's influenced by dehydrated, it's influenced by lack of oxygen, it's influenced by a very acid diet. Then the cellular pH becomes more acid, and that is where arthritis and gout like to thrive. We've got to get alkalinity into those joints, and when your blood is carrying the food that is more alkaline, then it's contributing to the alkaline or less acid environment around the joints. So the food, so we'll put a little red arrow indicating that over there is the food that will help to conquer arthritis. We had a lady come and do our program. Her and her husband, they were in their, they were probably in their mid-70s when they came to attend our program, and they had an interesting story. The lady said, we were both in our late 60s, we both had arthritis, we both were a little overweight, finding our house hard to manage, so we booked into an aged care facility. She said, our daughter gave us a set of your DVDs, Barbara. We watched the DVDs, and we discovered that a lot of what we were doing was contributing to our arthritis. So we made a decision to stop our morning cup of coffee. We made a decision to stop having our wheat cereal and our wheat toast with the coffee for breakfast. She said we also made a decision to stop our little red wine every night. We made a decision to stop having the meat at night and start to have the main meal at lunchtime. We started to discover ways that we could make the legumes, and we started to eat more fruits and vegetables. We also decided to stop the nightshade group of vegetables. So this is the nightshade group of vegetables here. She said as time went on, we're also drinking more water. We started to exercise every morning. She said within 6 months, we both had lost, now I'm putting this over to American terms, so it was 20 kilos they'd lost in 6 months, so that's 40 pounds. She said, we also found that just losing the weight had also taken the pressure off our knees and our feet. She said, we both noticed that we didn't have the pain in our joints anymore. She said, I found that even my swollen joints were starting to go back to normal. We went to the doctor for our checkup, and he said, I don't know what's happened to you, to you as a couple, but the doctor said, your inflammatory markers have come right down. And they both testified, well, we really don't have pain anymore. And so the doctor took them off their medication. He took them off their anti-inflammatories. They didn't need it anymore. And once they stopped the medication, they felt even better. And they looked at each other after a year and they said, what are we doing in this aged care facility? So they booked out, they bought a caravan and a four-wheel drive, and they decided to drive around Australia. And when they got halfway up the east coast, they came in an hour and they attended a program at Misty Mountain Health Retreat. This lady had a smile on her face the whole time. She said, it's like I've got a new lease on life. She said, I just can't believe how good I feel. She said, we both believe that we feel better now in our early 70s than we felt in our 40s, our 50s. How many people aren't really living? How many people are suffering from conditions when there is a remedy. So she said what we also did, not only did we stop all the things that have an acid effect, and of course those they come into this area here, but she said we also started to go to bed earlier. We started to limit our television watching. We started to eliminate as much as possible our exposure to technology. That has an acid effect. We started exercising, the proper diet, use some water. She said we also started to read our Bible. We found that our minds came clearer, and she said we began to learn about the God of heaven who made the body to heal itself. She said we read about how we should be presenting our bodies living sacrifice. She said we had never seen these things before. So this is another effect that the change in the lifestyle and diet had done. It gave them clearer minds. At our retreat, she learned a few more things. She didn't need them as much now, but she said, I have friends who have arthritis. She said, the hot and cold certainly can make a difference, but we've also got poultices. And these poultices can get that acid, that inflammatory out of the body. And one that's particularly helpful is the ginger poultice. Ginger is great for joints, especially inflamed joints. So what you do is you just grate that ginger very fine, and you take a cloth, maybe you have a cloth this big, and you put the grated ginger into the middle area, and then you fold it over. I call it east, west, north, south, and you make a little package. And when you've made your package, here's your package, and then you just have a little bit more plastic around it that covers it, or I should say it goes under it. And so it's applied to the wrist with the plastic over, and then it can be bandaged on. And we have found many people have testified that it draws the inflammation out of the skin to the point where it almost feels like the skin's burning, but it doesn't burn. So a ginger poultice, and that's excellent for painful joints. And remember, it is quite a powerful anti-inflammatory, has a powerful anti-inflammatory effect. We had a lady attend one of our programs, and she had a very swollen finger joint. She said, this finger has been hurting me for about a year, and she could not bend her finger. It was so painful. And she said, I'm right-handed. It interferes with my ability to write, to prepare food, to sew. She said it's really difficult, but she said, I'm in my late 60s now. I guess, I'm getting arthritis. How many people think that they're getting into their late 50s, 60s, so these sorts of things are going to happen? But I can tell you now, we've seen people totally free from them. So we put a grated ginger poultice on her, and of course that was a little tiny one that we put on her finger. The next morning she came in and she said, I have no pain in that finger. She said, I even slept all night. When I was going to sleep, it was feeling very hot. She said, and I wondered if I'd be able to sleep because it felt so hot. But she said, I went to sleep, and she said in the morning it didn't feel hot anymore. And when I took the poultice off, she said I could bend my finger. The swelling wasn't totally down, but it certainly was almost halfway down. Just a very simple little ginger poultice. Now I do warn people, don't put it on just before you go to bed, because you might wake in half an hour with your skin very, very hot where the poultice is, and that could interfere with your ability to sleep. So I suggest people put the ginger poultice on, and put it on, just choose one painful joint where you put it on, and just see how it feels. Maybe you'll put it on at 6 o'clock and you're going to bed at 9 o'clock. See how it feels by 9 o'clock. If it's just too hot, take it off. Even that amount of time, it will have an effect. And remember that hot skin is an indication of the inflammation that it's drawn out of the joints into the skin. One lady did it too much. She did it overnight, she did it the next day to the middle of the day, changed it again, did it to the evening, then did another one overnight, and she did it to her knee, and she said she was so excited because it reduced the pain in her knee right down. So she just wanted to keep doing it. And then she sent me a picture of her knee. The tissue was red, swollen, and she had blisters on the skin. She said, "What have I done?" I said, "You've just overdone it." I said, "No more ginger poultices for another week." She said, "I can handle that because my knee is certainly moving a lot better." I said, you might like to just put castor oil compresses, and that's another one that can be used as castor oil. Castor oil doesn't have as dramatic effect as the ginger poultice, but castor oil can be used almost indefinitely. You could almost wear it 24/7. Castor oil penetrates very, very deep, and it can break up scar tissue. It can also break up calcifications, and sometimes with arthritis you've got calcified joints. Now, so we'll say calcifications because this is some of the cause for the pain in the joints. So the scar tissue obviously is going to break up a little bit easier than the calcified joints, but eventually it will do it. The key is consistency. Just keep at it. Just keep applying it every day, every day. Some people like to sleep with the castor oil compress overnight. Now, the thicker the compress, I like to do about 6 layers of cloth or maybe 3 layers of toweling, and I stitch it together and we put plastic underneath it. See, when you apply it, let's say you're applying it to the knee, you apply it and then you put the plastic over and then you'll bandage it on. The plastic just keeps the compress from chilling as it does with the ginger, and it also protects your clothes from being soiled from the castor oil, or if it's the ginger juice. The castor oil can be used, the castor oil compress can be used again and again and again and again. You might even use it for a month. By then it might be looking a little bit sad, and you might make a fresh one. I'll leave the decision up to you, because the castor oil is not drawing anything out of you. It's just a vehicle to hold the oil so that it can go into you. So this is a gentler poultice, but it's actually quite powerful. It can break up a bone spur, and so any calcification anywhere in the body, it has the ability to break that up. Remember, it penetrates deeper than any other oil, and wherever it penetrates, it has the ability to break up the congestion, scar tissue, calcification in that area. The more serious the condition, of course, the longer it's going to take, and the longer it's been like that, the longer it can take. So the swollen joints, you might do the ginger poultice for a few hours, and then you might do the castor oil overnight every night. So play with them. Remember, you're the doctor. Listen to what your body says. If it brings relief, do it. If it doesn't bring relief, maybe you need to do it for a little bit longer. Maybe you need to adjust the times that you do it. But your body will speak to you, and it will tell you what it likes. And if you don't get the results straight away, just keep at it. Remember Galatians 6 verse 9, where the Bible says, "Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we faint not." And remember that God gave us these simple natural remedies, and God blesses those natural remedies. So always pray for your poultices and ask God to bless them, and then you'll have the help of the greatest teacher, the greatest physician, the greatest healer that this world has ever known. In fact, the Bible says in some towns, once he passed through, there was not a sick person in that town. Can God still heal? Of course he can still heal. But I believe that what he wants to do is he wants to teach people why they're sick and what they can do to recover from their sickness. And when they go through that experience, they are now qualified to be able to help others, because the most powerful testimony is your testimony. In Revelation 12, chapter 12, verse 11, the Bible says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony." So your testimony is a powerful testimony. No one can argue against your testimony and what you have found has helped in your life. So this lady and this man who conquered their arthritis then came to our retreat. They'd conquered it by basically implementing everything that I've shown you here. They no longer had arthritis. And the lady said to me, "Can we start to eat some of the nightshade foods? Could we start to maybe eat a little bit of wheat?" And I said to her, "Your body will tell you." One lady said, "But I love these foods." I said, "How much do you love your arthritis? It's not forever." It's like what this lady testified. Once she'd implemented all of this and her arthritis was conquered, she is now in a situation where she thinks, I'll give it a try. And this is what she found. She found that she could eat half a tomato 3 days a week. She found that she could eat a small potato most days. Her body told her not to touch the bell pepper. And the eggplant, she said, "I might have that once a month. It's not a food we eat a lot of." She said, and the wheat, she said, "I was out at a restaurant and I had some pasta that was made of wheat." She said, "I had no reaction." So the next day I had another dish, we were traveling, of pasta, and she said, "I started to get some little bit of twinges in my joints." So can you see what her body was saying to her? You can have a dish of wheat pasta maybe once a week, but not every day.